You've probably seen those massive military parades in North Korea, right? Where everything is perfectly synchronized, almost robotic. Well, if you look closely, you'll often see one figure standing just off to the side, maybe with a faint smile. That's Kim Yo-jong, the sister of the supreme leader. And according to a whole lot of people who study the regime, that gentle look, it hides a pretty shocking reality. She might just be the most dangerous woman on the planet. So, on one hand, you have the public image she projects, the smiling diplomat, the loyal sister, always there in the background, quietly helping her brother. But then you hear what intelligence agencies and defectors say, and they paint a totally different picture. They call her the Iron Lady, a cold, calculating, and ruthless strategist. So, which one is the real Kim Yo-jong? So, how in the world does someone get a reputation like that? Well, it's a story that unfolds almost entirely in the shadows. It's a story of secrecy, of brilliant strategy, and a ruthless consolidation of power that honestly has caught most of the world completely by surprise. And let's be super clear here, this isn't just some media hype. The people sounding the alarm are the ones who have spent their entire careers studying North Korea. They see a political player who is every bit as formidable as her brother. And you know what? Maybe even more so. To really get who she is, we have to go back, way back, to the beginning. Her story doesn't start in some grand public palace, but in almost total obscurity. She had this hidden upbringing where she was carefully and quietly groomed for power, far away from any public eye. I mean, think about it. For the first 2 decades of her life, Kim Yo-jong was essentially a ghost. She's born into the ruling family, and then almost immediately she's whisked off to Switzerland for this super isolated education. The first time the world ever really sees her is at her own father's funeral, which was a quiet but very clear signal to insiders that a brand new player had just stepped onto the board. Can you just imagine how bizarre this childhood must have been? They were basically performing normalcy, going to school under fake names. He was Pak Un, she was Pak Mi-hyung, but their apartment was being monitored 24/7 by North Korean officials and bodyguards. It was a life spent acting, like a masterclass in deception from a very, very young age. So, after she gets back to North Korea, she doesn't just fade away. Not at all. Instead, she begins this incredibly methodical, calculated climb right to the very heart of the regime. And she takes on this massive role, becoming the chief architect of her brother's entire public image. While the world just saw a quiet assistant, this timeline shows you the real story. She had immense power right from the jump. As tour manager, she literally controlled her brother's every move. From there, she basically takes over the propaganda department, and that's the ministry responsible for making the leader look like a god to the entire country. And make no mistake, this was not just PR. This was mythology in the making. She meticulously shaped every single part of Kim Jong-un's public persona. His haircut, his body language, his speeches, all to mirror their revered grandfather, the founder of the nation. She was building a modern personality cult from scratch. This was her big debut on the world stage. She steps onto the tarmac in South Korea, and she is all smiles and diplomacy. The media absolutely loved it. But the experts? They saw it for exactly what it was, a masterful propaganda move. She was presenting this soft, modern face for a brutal regime, and she disarmed the world with a single smile. For years, she was the quiet operator in the shadows. But then came the moment when that smile just vanished. The diplomatic mask came right off, and the world heard her true voice for the very first time. Okay, so picture this. It's April 2020, and the world is holding its breath. Kim Jong-un has completely disappeared from public view. Intelligence agencies everywhere are scrambling. Is he dead? Was there a coup? North Korea was just this black box of total uncertainty and fear. And then, out of that silence, her voice emerges, her first ever statement issued in her own name. And it wasn't a message of peace or stability. No, it was a snarling threat. The language was so aggressive it just stunned everybody, comparing South Korea to a scared, barking dog. The message she sent, both to the world and to the elites inside North Korea, was unmistakable. There was no power vacuum. If the king had fallen, the queen was ready to take his place. So when Kim Jong-un finally reappeared, her status was cemented. She wasn't just an advisor anymore. She was the regime's undeniable Iron Lady. And her actions have been every bit as ruthless as her words. There are reports that she masterminded her own uncle's execution for the crime of not clapping hard enough. She's been linked to the assassination of her half-brother. She personally ordered the demolition of a joint diplomatic office, and she's said to have had officials executed for the tiniest hint of disrespect. Her language itself has become a weapon. She calls people who defect filthy insects. She dismissed the president of South Korea as America's hungry dog. And she referred to the president of the United States as an old man with no future. I mean, this isn't diplomacy. This is raw, unfiltered aggression. Okay, so what does all of this add up to today? Her rise isn't just some fascinating political drama. It has really profound and dangerous implications for global security. Let's be really clear about this. Today, there is zero debate. Kim Yo-jong is the second most powerful person in North Korea. She's a member of the highest decision-making body in the country, and for all intents and purposes, she co-rules the country right alongside her brother. And if you need proof, here it is. Issuing official state declarations used to be a privilege reserved exclusively for the supreme leader. That's it. She has now done it over 40 times. She is no longer just crafting the message, she is the message, the official mouthpiece of the entire nation. And this is where the situation gets really critical. Kim Jong-un has no publicly known adult son to take over. And according to high-level defectors and what we know about their succession rules, if he were to die suddenly, power would transfer directly to her. The path is clear for her to become the first female dictator of a nuclear-armed country. Which leaves us with a deeply unsettling question to think about. For years, the world has been focused on Kim Jong-un. But now, we're facing the very real prospect of a new leader in North Korea. A leader who has proven she is strategic, she is unapologetic, and maybe even more brutal than anyone who came before her. So the question isn't just if she'll take power, but what happens when she does.